The Elements of Harmony and Savior of Worlds by Arcade Striker 5, Chapter 7. It had been a long day for the princess ponies in their castle. Princess Sparkle moved about one of the upper parapets, cleaning supplies floating behind her in the old stone room. Feather dusters cleaned up the cobwebs, while mops glided along the stone floor, occasionally floated over to a bucket and dipping into the water. The unicorn walked around and looked out the arc-shaped window, seeing Celestia's stay coming to a close, and the stars of Luna's night beginning to shine through.
It has been so long since we have seen our daughters,
She thought out loud. She turned away from as several multicolored balls of fur bounded in, some of them wearing oversized armored helmets on their head. The visors clang,
"Message for Princess Celestia!"
one of the bushwoolies said, holding up fur-covered hands and waving to the door. Several of the others ran up to Sparkle, guiding her to the door.
"Gotta hear the message! Gotta be important! Gotta be important! Wait for you, Princess Sparkle!"
Princess Sparkle chuckled to herself as she was led down from the tower and down below the castle where she lived in. The ornate stone quickly changed into barren gray rock, lit haphazardly by torches. She concentrated for a second, and her horn brightened, banishing any shadows into the stark corners of the tunnels under the castle. After a few minutes, she walked into the large chamber, carved from the living rock at times immemorial. 5 other ponies gathered around a crystalline structure in the center of the room, the heart of Ponyland, the scales upon which the balance of the world tilted. Princess Sparkle noted the 6 wands stored in the crowns on the heart as she cantered up.
"What is it?"
she asked, looking around.
"Is something happening? Is it good? Is it bad?"
A yellow-coated earth pony named Princess Starburst looked over the space above the heart as it glowed.
"Not bad," she said. "At least, I don't think it's bad."
She turned back as the light wavered, resolving into the image of Princess Celestia.
"You called, Celestia?"
The image Celestia smiled, and her ethereal head bowed.
"I did," she said. "I am glad to see you all again. How are things? I feel the heart is well."
Princess Tiffany, a stark white Pegasus with an equally white mane and tail, spoke up, looking down her muzzle at Celestia.
"You'd know much better than how we are doing if you visited more often, instead of having us check out the Canterlot."
She rolled her eyes at several stalactites above.
"A letter every decade or so does not make up for not visiting for the past 100 years."
She paused at the ground sword.
"We found out that Luna had returned a full month after our subscription to the Canterlot Times."
Celestia swallowed and scratched her chin with her hoof. She looked away.
"Well, I am pretty busy, Tiffany. Running a country, raising the sun, until about 11 months ago the moon as well. There are affairs of state, and—"
A teeny voice from somewhere near Celestia's physical location echoed through the magic link.
"She is also going to tea parties, a pranking busybody, and Sadie, I want to see them!"
Celestia's image vanished, and Luna appeared. She looked around at the 6 princess ponies, and the various bushwoolies also occupying the chamber, and her violet cheeks suddenly turned an even deeper purple. She looked down and away, not meeting any of their eyes.
Hello, mothers. It is good to see you."
She raised her hoof and wiped her eye.
How are you?"
A mid-green earth pony leaned in, smiling.
"How are you?"
Princess Serena asked.
"We're sorry we haven't been by Canterlot more often, Luna. Our duties, but one of them should have been tending to you in your time of need."
She looked around. "Isn't that right?" The other ponies nodded their assent. Princess Sparkle spoke up once more.
"I have a feeling the call isn't exactly social, though. Luna, what does Celestia want?"
Luna's eyes widened and her mouth opened slightly. "Oh, sorry!" She looked away.
"Can I tell him? Oh, thank you!"
She turned her attention back to those who gathered and grinned.
"Make it has returned!"
The ponies gathered around all the heart and gasped, some of them rearing back slightly, lifting their forelegs in shock.
But how?"
Princess Primrose, a light violet earth pony, asked. She shook her head.
"The Rainbow Prince! After what happened?"
Luna's head disappeared, and Celestia reappeared, wearing a grim expression.
"Due to a rather complex incident involving a rogue dragon, and yes, I've contacted Spycora for help with it, one of my prized pupil's friends managed a sonic rain boom in the vicinity of a teleport. This led to a hole in time and space being told right into Megan's backyard, it seems."
She let out a small smile, tugging at the corners of her mouth.
"If that's a coincidence, then I'm really the Magni."
She looked around before leaning forward.
"Can you be at a town called Ponyville the day after tomorrow? I have a little surprise planned for her."
She grinned and waggled her eyebrows for emphasis. Princess Sparkle looked around before nodding to Celestia.
Michelle, as well as the Bushwillies. I think they would like to see their friend from so long ago as well.
Her eyes went to the floor. A sudden wetness pervaded her eyes.
We never did thank her for the fine job she did raising you.
Princess Sparkle and her sisters watched as Megan and the three of the ponies from Parasite Estate approached over the Crystal Desert, separating them from Ponyland proper. Megan wore a backpack with a strange stick sticking out and had a book in hand. The Pegasus known as Wind Whistler, the unicorn named Fizzy, and the Earth Pony Applejack accompanied her as approached.
It is good to see you again,
Sparkle called out. Megan's head shot up, and she closed the book, cursing.
And good to see you as well,
she exclaimed. She looked around, waving at some of the bush bullies before turning her attention to the princesses.
So, what do you think of my proposal? Ponyland needs all the help it can to become strong.
Princess Tiffany spoke up, tapping the dirt with her hooves.
We must decline going to Green Valley, Megan. We're sorry.
At the girl's crestfallen expression, she continued to speak.
But we've done something to help already.
She tapped the dirt with her hose, getting everyone's attention.
Look!
Megan looked down and gasped as she saw 6 wands laying at the hose of the princesses, each one a dull gray. She slid her book into her backpack and picked 2 of them up, looking over.
But when Lavon did this, the entire world almost crumbled.
Princess Sparkle cleared her throat, gaining their attention.
Lavon vested their powers with all the brute force of another tree branch. We are the princess ponies, and we know all we are doing,
she said, a twinkle in her eye. She looked to the Pegasus, then kept her head sharply look of a cloud hanging in the sky.
Wind Whistler, correct? Please fly up onto that cloud and hop on it. We'd like to see some rain.
Wind Whistler's eyebrow knots.
That isn't a possibility. Princess Sparkle, rain is formed. Please.
The Pegasus spread her wings. It jumped up, gliding to a small puff in the air. She circled around before landing on top. Wind Whistler let out a small gasp, and droplets cascaded down at her tuts.
But, this defies all reason,
she shouted.
So say it's a talking Pegasus, Pony,
Megan muttered, stifling a giggle. She then looked at the wands, then back to her friend still in the sky.
Does you do that?
Princess Primrose spoke up.
6 weeks ago, we used the magic tied to the 3 of our wands and dispersed it among the 3 kinds of ponies.
She looked to the unicorn Fizzy.
The magic already inherent in your kind will increase greatly.
She looked to Applejack.
The earth ponies will gain a connection with the land. Their crops will grow, and they shall gain the strength of many.
Applejack's jaw dropped.
So, I'll get lots of apples from my apple trees?
There was a silence before Princess Serena spoke up.
Yes, Applejack.
She looked over her shoulder, and the princesses separated.
Come on out now. It's all right.
She glanced over to Megan as a pair of foals emerged.
And this is what we did with the other 3 wands. I was to introduce Celestia and Luna.
Megan gasped. She knelt down as a snow-white pony with a pink mane and tail and a midnight blue pony with a dark purple mane and tail emerged. Bushwillies by their side. Both had the horn of a unicorn and the wings of a Pegasus. Megan suffered forward and reached into her backpack, pulling out 2 carrot sticks.
Have I?
She said, smiling, as she took the carrots and began chewing on them. Wind Whistler landed.
You used the wands to create them. Why? They are tied to the Ponyland itself, and someday will wield vast powers, bringing order to the land.
Princess Starburst responded. She looked down her nose slightly at Megan.
But they will also need to learn right from wrong, how to be kind, diplomatic, and also when to fight back.
She trotted forward and sat down, reaching a hoof to Megan.
Please, Megan, teach Luna and Celestia. Teach them all that you've shown us. Help them mature into wise rulers who will lead the ponies into a golden age of peace.
Megan's mouth wobbled a bit. Her cheeks flushed red and she swallowed. But I wouldn't know how to do that, she exclaimed. I'm just a teenager trying to pass my next test. She stood up and waved to the princess ponies. What about you? You're a lot nicer than when I first met you. Can't you teach them? Princess Starburst shook her head.
We're learning, but we still have many nests to go. And Luna and Celestia will have to be out among their own kind, not locked up in some old castle. Please, Megan, we need your help.
Young girl threw her arms in the air. She looked down at the little feeties chewing on her carrot sticks. I want to take this moment to say I've got the image in my head of Philly Celestia and Philly Luna nibbling on carrot sticks is all sorts of adorable. They looked up at her and smiled and rolled her eyes. Oh, she dropped to her knees and held out her arms, gathering them up in a hug. I'll do my best. I swear it. Celestia squirmed slightly as Megan picked up. So he twisted it around and looked at the princess ponies. Mommy. The princess ponies all gathered around Megan, each one nuzzling Celestia and then Luna. We will always love you, Princess Sparkle said, and we'll visit as often as we can. She suddenly looked up at Megan. There's... She turned around and galloped inside the castle. She emerged a few minutes later, in a violet-coated unicorn foal on her back, 4 legs wrapped around her neck. The big brother ponies visited us a few months ago. About 15 months ago. She looked away. Megan, it breaks my heart, but as for Celestia and Luna, there's no place for my daughter to be raised. Megan swallowed, then blinked several times. Are you sure? No, but I know nothing else to do. A sigh escaped Megan's lips. She looked over at one shoulder, then the other as Wind Whistler and Applejack walked up. She gently placed Luna on Applejack's back and Celestia on Wind Whistler before taking the foal. What's on mine? Little Sparkle, she said, gasping slightly. She leaned in and nuzzled Little Sparkle, kissing her on the foreleg right below the horn. You'll be going to a big estate with lots of other ponies to play with, and big fields to run and gallop in, my little one. Mommy has a big castle to look for, and the hut to keep safe. This place isn't for a growing pony. I'll be by my little Sparkle. Little Sparkle turned to nuzzle. I love you, Mommy. Princess Sparkle shuddered. I love you too, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. Megan turned away as Fizzy trotted up. She placed Little Sparkle on her back and curtsied to the princess ponies. What will you do now? Princess Primrose looked to the castle. We still got the hut, Megan, and as we got it, it got us. She turned and walked back to the castle, the others following her. Princess Sparkle spared one last glance before turning away. I'm certain she would say, no thanks were needed, she said, voice thick with emotion. She looked around and smiled. Well, day after tomorrow, Ponyville. I'll see you then. The image wavered before fading away. Princess Sparkle turned away from the heart and trotted up to a shelf carved into the cavern wall. 6 pointed hats sounded on it. Her horn glowed slightly, and each hat floated off the shelf, landing on the head of each princess pony. Well, what do you think? It has to come back in style again. And gone out of style again 7 dozen times, Princess Tiffany retorted, tossing her head about, but the hat remained firmly in place. She snorted and sat to the ground. We'll look ridiculous! Princess Sparkle tilted her head back. But Luna loves the hats almost as much as those things he wears on her hooves. What does he call them? Socks? She went around. Shocks? Socks? Something that begins with S? She went down to the other spot that. What? Last time we had to worry about clothing was at the coronation. The doorbell rang, and Mike walked over. He glanced through the peephole to confirm who it was outside, before opening the door, revealing a gangly teenager wearing a sweater and carrying an insulated bag. Delivery! The teen said, voice cracking. He cleared his throat. Pizza delivery! He said in a forced baritone. 2 cheese and 1 pepperoni. Mike smirked and rolled his eyes. Hello, Jimmy. He looked out across the front yard, at the fan parked in front of the lawn. I see you got that flat fixed from last week. Jimmy nodded. Oh, yeah. He craned his neck around and peeked around Mike. Say, Danielle isn't around, is he? I just wanted to know if... Mike placed his hand on the door jamb, and right in Jimmy's eye level, and glared down at the teen. My daughter is upstairs, finishing her homework, making sure she gets her homework done on time. Megan, cell phone in hand, ducked her head into the living room from the kitchen. Honey,
Just pay for the pizza. She waved with her free hand. Oh, hello, Jimmy.
Mike swallowed, his apple falling softly. Yes, dear. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He pulled out a pair of 20s. How much? Jimmy reached behind him and pulled a bill pad from his back pocket. He flipped through some pages on it before coming to the right order. $36.37. He took the money and pulled out change purse. Now then, carry the two. A groan came from Mike and he held his head. Ugh. It's all right, Jimmy. Keep the change. He took the pizza boxes and shut the door. Mike gasped slightly as the heat radiated from the boxes. It grunted somewhat tenderly. He walked up the stairs leading to the bedrooms and upstairs. Kids! Dinner! He shouted before making his way to the kitchen. Megan emerged from the kitchen, Beth still in hand.
Beth, do I need to remind you about last week when I pulled a double shift on the trails? Or the time 2 weeks ago mucking about the stables even though it was past my rotation? Or the time before that?
She stopped and a grin slowly formed on her face.
Oh, don't worry. It'll only be for 2 weeks.
The grin turned down a straight line.
Yes, I'll come in Friday afternoon to fill out the paperwork. Yes, all right. Bye, Beth.
She cradled the cell phone in her hand and turned it off.
2 weeks off!
She said, giggling and waving her fist about. Mike walked back in and looked her over. Well, any idea what you'll be doing there? Rescuing ponies? Defeating that dragon? Stirring a kingdom? He walked back and forth on his heels, a nervous smile on his face. Just don't get too caught up in.
Megan crossed the distance between them in a pair of heartbeats. Mac, you're not all right, she stated. You're a bit freaked out, like you said, but I'll beat more than you're laying on.
Mike sighed and hung his head. How's your faker? Megan pointed at his head.
Some swipe that wasn't there before. Also, I don't think I've heard you said, yes, dear, in all the time we've been married. Mac, I'm the same girl you met in high school. Dated, fell in love with, married, and had $2 with. I'll swear it.
She raised up her arm and reached out to him.
There are just some things I had to see through there.
Her husband took her hand and gripped it tightly, looking toward the door. Aldous, he groaned. I just don't want to lose you to this, Megan. It's almost scary how readily you jumped in to help Twilight there with, what was it? A dragon? Megan bit her lips. Her cheeks ran slightly from dehealing laughter.
Yeah, but dragons aren't too bad. They'll steal from their hoard and compliment their shiny scales. Although, this one?
She trailed off and locked eyes with Mike, tightening her grip on his hand.
Mac, I swear to you, you, Danielle, Michelle, you won't lose me to the ponies.
She took a step forward.
But you know I won't abandon my friends either.
Oh no. That's one of the reasons I love you, he responded, leaning in and giving her a quick kiss. Mike glanced back to the door, leading to the kitchen and outside. You know, I've got the weekend off, so the kids. Would it hurt to ask Twilight if the family could take a trip to Ponyville? He asked, twinkling his eyebrows.
Megan frowned. Well, I can ask, but no guarantees. It wasn't easy for her to teleport me. Daz Spike back after.
She suddenly looked up as Danielle, Michelle, and Molly came down the stairs.
Hey, what took you so long?
Molly shrugged as he rounded past her elder sister.
Oh, you know, they're talking now.
Kids, dinner! Danielle sat up from her slouch at her personal computer, eyes wide. She quickly waved her term paper and set it to sleep mode.
Come on! She hissed at Michelle, sitting on her bed. We can't be late for dinner!
Michelle rolled her eyes as she put down Volume 2 of My Little Horsey and levered herself to a standing position.
What? Afraid Mom's gonna vaporize you with the rainbow light?
She taunted, a slight grin on her face. Danielle spun around and narrowed her eyes.
Quit it!
She snarled. She looked at Michelle's bed.
You and I both read the kind of stuff she did back then. Lord knows what else she encountered along with those ponies.
Molly suddenly appeared at the door, crossing her arms.
Actually, a lot of it was born politics. It's some like constructive care lot. Megan did a symbolic digging with a shovel, and the masons started moving stuff around.
She went to the bedroom and looked down at the book on Michelle's bed. Ah, Ghost of Paradise Estate, she said, picking it up and thumbing through it. I was there for that one. Hey, that was the episode I watched before starting this, she said, looking back. Your mother forgave the ghost. She forgave a lot of people who tried to kill her. Both Michelle and Danielle looked around, their eyes on something else in the room. It's just amazing if Uncle Danny turned out to be Batman, Danielle blurted out. She threw up her hands. This is just so weird! We had a talking unicorn in the kitchen, eating carrots, and having a conversation with. And she's literate. With English! She looked around. How does that work? Molly shrugged. Your mother brought over a lot of books for the ponies to study. Everything from history to engineering to architecture to art to cookbooks. She paused to rub her chin. Although that barbecuing one might have been a bit much. She focused on Danielle. Odd thing to think about. Danielle snorted. My major is in anthropology, and my minor is in folklore and mythology. Aunt Molly, I can't help but think about these ponies and the civilizations they built with their hands. I mean, whose? She held up her hands and looked down. What these? We built civilization. What did ponies use? Yeah, telekinesis Twilight used, Michelle spoke. She rolled her eyes as both Molly and Danielle looked up. What? Did you scare her flowing the colors over? There weren't just unicorns there. Pegasi and normal Earth ponies lived in Ponyland too. Molly pinched the corners of her mouth and tucked down slightly. You know how one of our Earth hostess can undo the latch from a gate in the inside? They had mouths that were practically hands. Danielle stared at Molly. I want to go there. No, I need to go there. She clasped her hands together. Please, Aunt Molly, please help me to convince Mom to go there. Molly's mouth opened, and then closed and rolled her eyes. She glanced at Michelle. What about you? Michelle bit her lip and blushed subtly. You ponies? There was a moment of silence before Molly brushed past the two and stepped out of the room. You two are so your mother's daughters. She looked back. Come on, things getting cold. She led the two downstairs and past Megan and Mike. Megan looked up at them as they walked by. Hey, what took you so long? Molly saw her spouse. Oh, you know, girl talking out. Spike stifled a yawn as he observed Twilight running back and forth with several sheets of paper suspended in the air through her telekinesis. He rubbed his bleary eyes. Ugh, Twilight, are you done yet? You've been at this for hours. Twilight glanced back, and her head drooped. I'm sorry, Spike. She trotted over to one of the windows in the first floor of the library and looked down at the night. Wow, old habits die hard. She turned back and walked over to Spike. Here, let me help you get to bed. Aloysius will help me out. She stood by Spike's side all the way up to the second floor. In the bedroom he shared with Twilight. She tucked him in before galloping down. Several of Megan's books floated over in the open, pages turning. Okay. She glanced up as a tawny old owl circled above. She focused on a book on one of the upper shelves. Aloysius, could you please get me Ancient Equestrian History and the Magne, please? The owl hooted, whoo, and flapped his wings, flapping up to the highest shelf. He gingerly grabbed the spine with his claws, letting the weight aid in his descent down to Twilight, letting go as the tome glowed in her telekinesis. She flipped over the book, while with a quill dipped in an inkwell on a desk, and began scribbling out notes. Several other quills moved onto pieces of paper, defying Twilight's concentration and straining her magical abilities in ways not accustomed to. So engrossed was she, the subtle pop and a flash of a teleport went unnoticed, until a voice shattered her reverie. Twilight! Am I disturbing you? Every quill broke, spilling ink. Books flew, smacking into walls and knocking over horse-head statues. Twilight jumped almost a meter into the air, coat standing on end and letting out a shriek of fear. She landed, whirled about, and came face to face with Princess Luna! She exclaimed, suddenly dropping down bow. I'm so sorry! The greatest blue alicorn, goddess of the night, swallowed and stepped forward. She reached out with a hoof and gently tapped Twilight on the shoulder. Oh, Twilight, please do not bow to me. I don't want that. She looked around at the broken quills and scattered books and expressive feel. Oh, I'm so sorry! Her heart glowed slightly, and the quills hovered in the air. Ink spilled, floating off of the paper and into the ink wells, while the tips reattached themselves. She smiled at the repairs before turning her attention to Twilight. I bring news! But first, an apology. Affairs of state have been a bit draining on Celestia, but we should have gotten a response to you about your letter earlier, and for that, I formally apologize. And with that, she tipped her head low, angling her horn to the ground. Twilight straightened herself up and returned to Chester. And I formally accept your apology, she said, replying in a formal manner. Luna raised her hand. Celestia sent word to Spycore and the Old about the dragon at Everfree Forest. She turned and walked over to one of the windows looking out. He'll be here the day after tomorrow, but in case something happens between now and then, do not hesitate to call upon us for help. Twilight nodded. I think he thinks we're dead, having seen the balloon incinerate. She tipped her head slightly. Still, thank you, Princess. Luna turned back. She looked past several books. They floated up, and she looked at the titles. Weighty reading for such a young pony, she said, chuckling. Ah, history! One of my favorite subjects. The turn of the wheel, the ticking of the clock as future becomes present, present past, and past legend and myth. The same acts played out again and again. She stared out. I had a friend. He'd indulge me by reading old books. Danny looked down at the tiny alicorn filly and a book near her host. Oh, Luna, come on! He shifted as he looked up as she looked up with pleading white eyes. Oh, all right. He scooped her up in his arms and carried her to her chair, setting Luna down in his lap and opening a book. The History of World War II. He shook his head. I cannot believe this. The voice of his sister at Danny's attested. Smile! Megan shouted. He and Luna looked up just as he snapped a picture of the two. I reiterate, the image of a filly Luna reading a book is adorable. Luna sighed. Twilight, you have met Megan, she stated. She is an old friend of ours, of an entire society. She began, pacing, gilded hooves echoing. It's complex, and I'm not sure how much I should say without her present. She stopped to face Twilight. What has she told you? Twilight swallowed. She looked over at the books, and several floated over. Not just what she told me, but what she wrote. She sat back on her haunches. I mean, she said the last time she was here was 20 years ago, but the things she speaks of are ancient history. Literally! She shook her head. It makes no sense to know the founding of Cloudsdale, of Camelot, and Tyrant the Abomination, and the Smooths, and... Her eyes suddenly went wide as she looked back at her host. She must be immortal! Luna shook her head. No, Twilight. What is going on is odd, to say the least. Tell me, did time seem to flow the same when you were with her in your world? Twilight's nervous nodding. Luna rubbed her chin. Such as it was in the old times. But now, for so much time to have passed us, and so relatively little for her. Her expression fell. Oh, my. Twilight's ears perked up. What? Luna paced a bit. In the old days, a rainbow bridge connected our two worlds. Perhaps. The alicorn shook her head. No. Not now, Twilight. Does Megan have any family? Any children? Any siblings? Yes, Twilight replied. A husband, 2 daughters, a sister, and a brother. She tilted her head. They're rather nice, although one of the daughters, Michelle, is a bit... She looked back at her tail and switched it in the air. Anyway, may I ask why, Princess? Luna chuckled. Yes, you may ask, and you did. She tipped her head slightly. Celestia wishes to extend an invitation to her and her family to visit Ponyville. Hopefully within the next few days. She grinned, her eyes shifting back and forth, but never meeting Twilight's own eyes. Twilight go, I can't face it, but Princess, I had trouble teleporting Rainbow Dash, Spike, and Megan over. Humans are a lot bigger than that. She kicked at the wood floor. I don't think I could teleport them all over, unless in groups. 2 at a time might be the limit. A smile crept across her face. I'll ask them, Princess. Luna beamed. She spread her wings out and flapped them briefly. Thank you, Twilight!
I promise your questions will be answered, but at a proper time, with the proper audience. But for now, I will simply tell you that Megan is a friend, and someone you can most certainly trust. She is a dear friend of Celestia and myself. She suddenly cocked her head to the side and looked up, past the ceiling and roof. But I must go. The light needs me. She dipped low to one foreleg. Thank you for your time, Twilight, and thank you for everything you've done. Twilight smiled and returned the bow. Thank you, Princess. She deftly rose, but Luna was gone. The only hint she was here was a blue wisp of smoke lingering in the air. Luna flashed into sight near the edge of the everfree forest. She looked out at the Celestia forsaken land, and her arc ached at the damage wrought a millennium ago. All my fault, she thought. She glanced up, keen eyes picking out the hole in the sky. Her horn sparked, and a long thin beam shot out from it, strumming over the hole. She probed the terror of time and space. Letting her connection to the world guide her. Magic leaked through the earth, and she counted the ticks on the celestial clock, there in Equestria. A second is a second. Time flows the same length and rate, but... As she wound her magic back, she felt the seconds speeding up, coming into alignment with Equestria. So, we do move faster. She turned from the hole, a small file on her face, but it quickly failed. She suddenly vanished, a blue mist tracking her place as Luna suddenly crossed over, winding through the hole. She reformed her body, touched her host down in the Rizzard's backyard. The night wrapped around her body, shielding her from sight, sound, and smell. She trotted forward, peering inside a glass door, spying on what could only be Danny, Megan, Molly, and Megan's husband. The four were sitting at a table, mugs of steaming liquid in Danny and Megan's hands, while Molly had a metal can. Luna's arc ached as Danny grabbed the wheels of his chair and pushed back from the table, spinning around. His gaze passed by Luna's position, and he paused, brow furrowed for an instant. Luna's heartbeat quickened, but he continued, grabbing something from the counter and spinning back to the table. Luna observed the quartet for a few more minutes before changing back into mist, flying across the hole and landing back in Ponyville. She looked up at the moon and spread her wings, jumping up and soaring across the sky, and time was heavily by. Danny, are you all right? Danny looked up from Megan as he poured cream into his coffee. Glanced back to the sliding door as right shut. Yes, I thought I saw something. He waved her off. It's nothing, really.